Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and we have some very interesting Nintendo Switch 2 news to get into today. There is an apparent leak that has pretty much the entire internet freaking out about what's to come to Nintendo Switch 2, and there are other rumors about other Switch 2 games coming out sometime next year as well. But going beyond that, we have new Metroid Prime 4 commercials and a look at the title screen. Now, I am going to be putting timestamps for each news topic I'll be getting into throughout this video, so if you're trying to avoid Metroid Prime 4 spoilers, it will be clearly listed in the timestamps, and I will provide a warning when we get to that point, so don't worry, if you're trying to avoid spoilers, I will facilitate that. But yet, there's even more to talk about today. We have reviews to talk about in regards to Kirby Air Riders. The game came out today, so we'll be speaking on that, and there are some other interesting things that have been going on as well. So we have a decent amount to get into today. Do you find yourself feeling tired, unable to take a good nap during the day from wherever you may be? Then perhaps you are in need of a soft, comfortable sleep mask that blocks out all light. Fortunately, Manta Sleep, the sponsor for today's video, has just that, a quality sleep mask. This sleep mask has super soft, comfy cushions that cover your eyes and block out all light. It's easy to adjust to different sizes, and it feels great to wear, and it's helped me personally fit in just a bit more rest during my days. So if you're looking to improve your sleep and energy, check out the Manta Sleep mask using the link in the description below with my code SLEEPRESTART. And if you do so between the dates of November 19th to the 27th for an early Black Friday Cyber Monday sale, there is an additional 15% off the entire site, and you'll also get a free holiday recharge kit. Now's your chance. So I just want to start off by talking about the Metroid Prime 4 stuff. Again, there's a timestamp, so if you want to skip past this point, you will have the opportunity to do so now. But here we are getting into it. So let's just check out the title screen here. So this is not a high resolution look, but you can still tell what's going on, and it's pretty awesome. Oh man. The music is so good. I'm ready. Yeah, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to be incredible. But let's now take a look at some of these commercials that are coming from Nintendo of Korea.
Suit up and brave the unknown, where survival will take more than firepower.
Nice look at the grapple hook. Cybots. Psychic Glove. I think the Psychic Glove is going to be so fun.
Become the hunter and take on the world.
We got to look at
Metroid
Silex from
Prime
behind.
4 Beyond.
That's new.
Only on Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch.
Alright, let's move on to the next one here. We've seen this, but it looks great.
In this world, you have to see things through a different lens.
Nice shot of the snow area.
Open your mind.
Oh, what's his name? What's his name? What's the name? It's a scan of
lens.
Jungle Griever. Griever variant of this area. It can be, what does it say? It can leap to great heights and climb trees quickly.
Open
Okay.
your mind to new possibilities.
I'm opening them.
Shift gears to
My
new
single
places.
mind.
And push beyond your limits if you want to survive. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Only on Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch.
That's the low life sound effect that was in the background of the trailer there. Something I'll point out is that the marketing has really focused on this whole survive point. We even have a trailer just called Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Survive. And so I definitely am left thinking that there might actually be something to that. It may not just be there to sound cool. Like maybe we have these Federation troopers, we have Samus. They may indeed be trying to survive, and there's even maybe an implication that not all of them are going to survive. They're all making this effort, and so maybe not everyone makes it out alive, which I think is going to play a significant role to the story. But let's now move on to talking about Kirby Air Riders, because the game has come out today. I have yet to pick it up, but I will probably be picking it up pretty soon. As you can see here on Metacritic, of these 73 critical reviews, the game has an overall score of 79, which I would say is pretty good. Keep in mind that when it comes to Metacritic, it's combining a whole bunch of scores from different sites and such, and so you're going to have scores that are going to drag the game down a little bit, right? Like, you're going to have one schmuck that's going to give the game a 40 that doesn't even know what the game actually is. He's calling it a GameCube remake, or somewhat of a GameCube remake, and it isn't really a GameCube remake. Yes, it does have GameCube stages that have been completely remade, but it's a totally new game. Anyways, just keep that in mind, right? Like, that's just how it works for a whole bunch of reviews out there. If a game has a 79 on Metacritic, that means it's basically an 8 out of 10 kind of game, and that's a good score. So I think that's good for Kirby. That's definitely a step up from the original release of Kirby Air Ride on GameCube. But let's take a look at some of these summaries here of the reviews. So, for example, GameSurf gave the game an 85. Kirby Air Riders is pure adrenaline. It's the return that few expected, but many longed for. A game that combines accessibility, style, a good level of customization, numerous challenges to tackle, and an infinite amount of content. The game's spirit and numerous game modes offer variety and a fun-filled experience. Technically solid, artistically top-notch, and with an explosive soundtrack, Sakurai's new project is one of Nintendo's best games of this year. And that is a glowing review. I definitely agree with the things that are being said here from what I've experienced and seen of Kirby Air Riders. I did play the online test, and I played through some of the races. I did the city trial, and there's certainly a hectic energy. And from the direct, I understand there's a great deal of content there, and I found myself enjoying just trying out the different crafts and seeing how they all work, and they do function quite different from each other, so it's really a lot to sort of learn and figure out, and there's a lot of depth there. So I definitely think there's a lot of people out there that are going to pick up Kirby Air Riders and have a lot to enjoy with it. But I'll read one of the lesser positive reviews, but still not this ridiculous one. But here, Gfinity says, a chaotic, vibrant combat racer with excellent visuals and multiplayer potential, shining strongest in Air Ride and City Trial, but stumbling slightly with uneven pacing and weaker modes, fun, frantic, but occasionally overwhelming. And when they speak on the overwhelming element, there is it can be fun, but it's also frantic, and it can get very energetic. And sometimes perhaps overwhelming in City Trial, where you're going extremely fast, there's all these different things going on. It can seem kind of messy, so I kind of understand that, but also I think there is a little bit of a skill element there. You do have to kind of get better, understand the game, and you can make your own decisions as to how you go about exploring the environment and reacting to what's happening around you. So I think it's a valid point of view, though. Like, it's not going to be for everyone, right? But I do think Kirby Air Riders is a pretty solid game, and I think the reviews are pretty much on point from what I understand of the game, at least. I haven't picked it up and played it in full yet, but I will sooner or later. Now, if you've gone this far into the video, let me point out that I do have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers. So if you find yourself enjoying my videos, I would very much appreciate your support, be that through a subscription, liking, commenting, hyping the video, sharing the video. It all makes a huge difference. But at least thank you for coming by to watch today's video. Now, in some interesting news, Panic Button, who has been responsible for some pretty impressive ports on Nintendo Switch 1, they pointed out something very interesting that they were responsible for. Panic Button was honored to be selected by Nintendo to help update marquee games from the Nintendo Switch library. Nintendo asked us to help demonstrate new capabilities of the Nintendo Switch 2 system while remaining faithful to the original games. And so as you see here, they have this little graphic where Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Mario Odyssey, Bowser's Fury, and ARMS have been updated for Nintendo Switch 2. Like, yes, that's the case. I've really enjoyed the update for Mario Odyssey and Bowser's Fury. I've checked out these two. I think they look fantastic on Nintendo Switch 2. It's not a drastic difference, but with a higher resolution and HDR support, it's vibrant, it's sharp, and those colors pop. So it's pretty great, and it's interesting to see that Panic Button has been responsible for these free Switch 2 updates. And now I wonder, will there be more? As we see here from @Usified, Could they maybe work on porting over the Xenoblade games for Switch 2, like getting those upgrades out there? And I think something like Xenoblade could really benefit from it because the resolution does suffer quite a bit on Switch 1. Simply a resolution boost to these games would make for a huge difference as to how great they could look. So fingers crossed, Nintendo continues working with Panic Button to update even more Switch 1 games for Switch 2. Now moving on to some rumor leak news here, we recently had it announced that Tomb Raider Definitive Edition is now out for Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. It's out immediately, which is very interesting and at a decent price. But friend of the channel, Kiwi Talks, had this to say. I've been saying this for a while. 2026 is the year the floodgates for third parties open for Switch 2. You are starting to see the prelude to this. There is one game in particular next year that will be a WTF moment. I can't wait to see people's reactions when it happens. And just to be clear, he has said it is not Grand Theft Auto 6. That is not what he's referring to here. He's even expressed skepticism about GTA 6 being on the way for Switch 2, although we'll be getting into that in a moment here. But what could be this game that's going to have everyone freaking out? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What third-party game that has already been made, I assume, that could be announced for Nintendo Switch 2 coming out next year, they would have you totally freaking out as to what it would be. In terms of something that I would love to see Halo come to Nintendo Switch 2. That would be a pretty big moment, I would say. And considering the relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft, I don't really think it's a stretch, especially because Microsoft is also just kind of putting out their games everywhere. Like, we even recently learned that the Halo remake is coming to PlayStation, so I definitely think it's possible that Microsoft could port over some kind of Halo game or a few Halo games over to Nintendo Switch 2. But given that there are so many possibilities here, I'm going to assume that Halo is not what Kiwi Talks is referring to here. We'll see. But here's the thing that everyone is freaking out about. Leak Express. This is coming from Nash Weedle, who has gotten many leaks correct all throughout this year. Not everything, though. Like, we've been waiting on Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and that does not appear to be happening. That said, he's gotten so many other things right, like Indiana Jones, mouse controls in Metroid Prime 4, Donkey Kong over 3D Mario in the April Direct, and so much more. But here he's saying, Leak Express, I can confirm that work is being done on a port of GTA 6 for Switch 2. I hadn't spoken much about it, I had to be prudent until now, plus I can comment that the game's delay is not due to this version, it seems it won't arrive at launch. So, GTA 6 has been announced to be coming out in November of next year. It was supposed to come out way beforehand. And Nash Weedle is here saying that the delay has nothing to do with Switch 2, which, yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense. I would assume a Switch 2 version would come out later, given that Switch 2 has just come out and developers are still just getting acquainted to the console. But the idea of Grand Theft Auto 6 coming to Nintendo Switch 2, I do think is going to be a very big deal if it turns out to be true. Now, what's interesting about this is that there does seem to be a little bit of support out there for this idea outside of just Nash Weedle. Now, here Nate the Hate was asked about this, and this is what he said. I said a while ago that Rockstar was doing tests to bring it to Switch 2, but tests don't always equal release. I know an effort has been made to see if they can bring it to the platform. I don't know the current state of that effort. So, here Nate the Hate is saying that he doesn't know if it's actually on the way to Nintendo Switch 2, however, there was an effort to see if they could bring it over. So it's at least in talks. There was at least conversations that were happening, according to Nate the Hate, which many people believe to be very credible, that maybe GTA 6 could come to Nintendo Switch 2. So given that Nash Weedle is now reporting on this, from what he has heard, and what Nate the Hate has also heard, there is definitely room for optimism here. But there's a little bit more here. So, friend of the channel, Attack the Backlog, actually shared this out, so shoutouts to Attack the Backlog, but this info is actually coming from Nintendo Leaks, and here in Nintendo Leaks, this is in Spanish, but they talk about this whole Nash Weedle story about this Leak Express of GTA 6 coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and they say they heard a few extra things as well. That yes, this is on its way to Nintendo Switch 2, and that actually Nintendo asked Rockstar, Nintendo approached Rockstar to get this game over to Nintendo Switch 2, and Rockstar is actually trying to get it over, and they're currently looking to port over the Xbox Series S version to Nintendo Switch 2, which makes a lot of sense. We've seen other companies use the Xbox Series S version of a game to get it over to the platform, such as with Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it's a point that's been made before that Nintendo Switch 2 and Xbox Series S are very comparable, they're very close, there are differences, but if a game is running on Xbox Series S, there's a very good chance that game could run pretty well on Nintendo Switch 2. In some cases better, it kind of depends, but it's certainly something that a lot of developers could find a way to make work. But that's another source there that's suggesting that GTA 6 is coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be a huge, enormous release, one of the biggest releases in a very long time. And from the sounds of it, after it comes out, there's going to be another version that comes out for Nintendo Switch 2 that will be portable, because that's what the Nintendo Switch 2 is, portable, perhaps not that long afterwards, maybe sometime in the year of 2027. Which is a bit of a ways off, but if Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out for Nintendo Switch 2 not that much later than its initial release, this would be a very big deal for Rockstar, for the series of Grand Theft Auto, and for the Nintendo Switch 2. It would be one more reason that the Nintendo Switch 2 could become extremely successful as it already has been, but perhaps even more so. But what do you all think? What do you make of these rumors and leaks? What do you make of all these news? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, you can use my code SLEEPRESTART when checking the link in the description below for the Manta Sleep mask. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.